the one thing that I realized of a lot of great founders that I've had the opportunity to hang out with is that they all have great self-awareness. I think that is key. Like for me, I know my strengths are in business development, are in creativity, are in leadership, but I'm not naturally a manager.
Welcome to Scale Like a CEO, the podcast where we dive into the minds of innovative entrepreneurs who are transforming industries and building the future of business. Today, our guest is Loretta Chen, the visionary founder and CEO of Smobler, a pioneering digital agency that's at the forefront of gamification, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology. In today's episode, Loretta will take us through her remarkable entrepreneurial journey, from establishing Singapore's first for-profit theater company to building a cutting-edge digital agency that's redefining how businesses approach Web3 technologies. So let's dive right in and hear from Loretta about how she's helping brands and institutions harness the power of gamification, AI, and blockchain to create real-world sustainable solutions.
Loretta, thank you so much for joining me on Scale Like a CEO. Just to get us started, if you wouldn't mind, give me a 90-second intro to you and your business.
Hi there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Loretta Chen, founder and CEO of Smobler. We are a digital first architect, really specializing in gamification, especially edutainment games. I'll explain a little bit more. AI and the blockchain space. So typically, we find ourselves in a sweet spot being able to do AI for compliance and ease of accessibility, as well as blockchain for traceability and provenance. So that's really what we do: gamification, AI, and blockchain.
Great. And so, within your industry that you're working in, what's the biggest problem you see and how are you solving that?
And a lack of trust. So I'll take the latter first. I think when we first started in the Web3 space, this was during the COVID era, there was so much excitement about Web3 and the metaverse and NFTs. A lot of that was early use cases and what the blockchain can do. And so there was a lot of speculation, a lot of hype projects. But for us at Smobler, we always maintained that the early use cases were early use cases, and we always were very firm on wanting to pursue brands, projects, and institutions that would power use blockchain for real world sustainable users. So we've stuck to that narrative and it's held us in good stead. But like I said, the industry as a whole had been wrecked by rug pullers, as we call it in the industry, lots of cases of fraud, etc. So that's one thing that Smobler has been very good at doing. We've stuck on the path of straight and narrow, so to speak. Well, we're very creative. We stuck with doing projects that were trustworthy, building with big brands, which I'll share later, like New York Stock Exchange, Gemini, Michigan Ross. And this has really allowed us to build trust with our ecosystem and our partners. And then the other is really the lack of understanding and awareness. Many people are still trying to grapple with what's Web 1, what's Web 2, what's Web 3, what's decentralization, what's blockchain, what's non-fungible tokens. And there's a lot of this sort of misconceptions and misunderstandings. And there's also a barrage of information out there, not some of which is not accurate, right? Because we know the rise of social media. So it's also, I can imagine it's really hard for folks not in the industry to have a clear grasp or understanding of what this space is. So a lack of awareness and a lack of trust. But that's something that Smobler has been great at, turning that into our superpower.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, and you've been building the business for like 4 or 5 years now, right?
Correct. So I've always been an entrepreneur, as I'm actually a professor and author, but I've always been in the media space. So my previous businesses include setting up the first ever for-profit theater company in Singapore. That's where I'm from originally. I also grew a business called the Activation Group, which is an end-to-end branding agency. So we design and build retail stores in the global travel arena, meaning retail stores in the airport arena. And we also do the branding marketing for that. And subsequently in 2020, over COVID, I established Smobler, which is a digital first agency, meaning we begin to see that businesses had to go online or possibly on chain. And so we became one of the pioneers in establishing brand marketing, gamification on chain, subsequently venturing into the AI space as well. But yes, we've
Great,
been
great.
building for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, as you've been growing Smobler, kind of what are some of the challenges that you've encountered as you transition from being the founder to starting to build a team around you?
all founders have to grapple with like teething problems, right? Anyone that's been a parent, I'm not, I only raise cats, so you'll see them running around up and down the podcast. But anyone that's been a parent will know that rearing any child is always difficult, right? So it's like going through the startup phase, like being a toddler, and then it's an angry teenage years when you're scaling, right? So those are definitely the challenges that we felt and very deeply at Smobler. So one, it's just again, cross-reference what I said earlier, lack of understanding the industry, lack of trust in the industry. So we felt like we had to put in that much more effort into building trust, building awareness. So that's already one of the challenges we have as a startup, in addition to all the things that we have. It's like having a special needs child, right? It's like raising a kid is difficult, and then you have all of these other challenges, right? And then there is also finding the right talent, because recognize that this is such a new industry. Folks are either helicoptered in, or folks are entrepreneurial and are keen to explore new things as well. So the long and short of it is you either have very experienced folks taking the plunge. It is still a mindset and skills shift because it's a new industry. Then you have very young people coming into the space that may not necessarily have the experience, but they have the gumption and the desire, right? So you do have this sort of, on the one extreme, really experienced folks, but not so savvy in digital tech and digital space. And then you have young people that use this, that it's like they have their digital devices tied to their umbilical cords amid their born, but yet not having the experience of running a business company. So you have these sorts of talents coming to the space. You also have people coming in that are in for the ride, for the greed, for the glamour, right? So it is, and still is, hard finding the right people, the right talent, the right skill sets. And at Smobler, we have had some great hires that are with us from day one. We've also had some hires that we realized were just not the right fit. And it's truly one of those things where it's only time will tell, because it's not something that you can get from LinkedIn or resume. So I'd say talent hire is one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about that then. As you're selecting talent to bring on to the organization, what are some of the qualities you're looking for?
Definitely a sense of grit and resilience, because this is a space that is challenging in the sense that there are lots of, the climate is not steady, in the sense that, so in 2020, with the rise of digitalization, etc., there was so much buzz, and we had like a bull market in the digital asset space, in the crypto space. And then we saw this complete bear market where folks were, especially with the FTX scandals and things like that, there were lots of people pulling back and then, diversifying and putting the money in safer assets. And then now with this new administration, you see a rise in, say, for example, the passing of the Genius Act or the Clarity Act. There is again this sort of bull market happening. So this market fluctuates a lot. And that's why for us at Smobler, we always stuck with doing things that are safe and steady by working with banks or working with government institutions, what we call SLED, state, local educational institutions. So that keeps us on the path of the straight and narrow. But also, I think the other challenges would also be hiring young people that don't have a track record. So it would be about assessing how they react to adversity, how they react to challenges. Do they rise to the occasion? Because there's no rule book, right? Like you work in a Fortune 500, there's a rule book, there's exact protocols and what to do and not to do. When you are in a new industry, you're kind of flying the plane as you're building it, and building a plane as you're flying it. So again, it's one of those things that as a founder, you only assess your staff, and even myself, right? I need to constantly be assessing and checking myself, my front mirror, my rearview mirror, my side mirror, and be assessing myself. So it's a whole lot of self-awareness, and also being able to just look out for your team as well. So it's I know it's a long answer, but the short answer is you look for grit, resilience, adaptability, flexibility. And above all, I will say I really look for character. And that's something that, only time will tell. Yeah.
That's great. And those are things that I hear often from founders, is that adaptability, the grit, the flexibility. I love that you zeroed in there. One challenge I find that a lot of founders have is knowing when to let go of some things and empower
Oh,
their
yeah.
teams to pick up those tasks. How have you approached that shift?
Great question. I think one, it must stem from great self-awareness. I think the one thing that I realized of a lot of great founders that I've had the opportunity to hang out with is that they all have great self-awareness. I think that is key. Like for me, I know my strengths are in business development, are in creativity, are in leadership, but I'm not naturally a manager. I don't look into the detail, and I'm certainly not one that looks at all the finances all the time, even though I know that comes with the territory of founder. And so for me, uh, I do often always try to find people that will complement me in the areas that I know I lack. And I also think that it's important to know that in order to scale, you must have to let go. Again, using the parenting analogy. I think until today, my mommy still calls me. She's 89, like, have you eaten? Are you home? She still wants to mother me. There is still that impulse, even as an 89-year-old mom. She's still mothering her 50-year-old daughter. But the point is, as a daughter, I'm not going to scale. I mean, she only has the one daughter. She has every reason to mother me for as old as she is and for as long as I live and as long as she lives. But as a founder and a CEO, if you want to scale the team, you definitely know that you have to empower them to take certain decisions. So, for example, we now have three different teams, one looking into AI, one looking into our blockchain team, and our game and gamification team. And I do have different heads of business, and they function as CEOs of each individual business unit. So they're empowered to make certain decisions. And if they feel like they are stuck, then that's when they raise it to me. But otherwise, it really is about empowerment and trust. And yeah, letting go is hard, but at some point the founder needs to say, if you want to scale, these are certain things that you have to let go. And there are times, I'll confess, that where I have entrusted and empowered the wrong person that doesn't necessarily have the right skill set or the right character for the role. And then that's when the CEO or the founder has to say, I assume responsibility. I'm the wrong hire. I bear responsibility for that, and then remedy the situation.
Yeah. And can you think of a time maybe then, when you were overwhelmed by decision making and, tasks, and what strategies did you implement to overcome that?
I think I would say every founder and startup founder will say that every single day is like a war zone day, right? So I do think that, like, I literally just came from my F45. So big shout out to my F45 community. I definitely think the everyday healthcare, self-care is really important. There are two things that I do, or three things that I do daily. I have my daily exercise. So rain or shine, I make sure that I make it to the gym. So I've done that every single day. And I have to say, I really started this routine in February. So I've always been fairly healthy, but I did stop when I was doing my startup and all of that. But come February, I was very committed and say I'm going to commit to that. And I'm really proud to say I've gone every single day without fail. And if there are times that I'm traveling, I'm not able to hit the gym, then I'll make sure that I follow those on-demand workouts. So I work out every single day, or at least 5 to 7 times a week if possible. The other is I actually meditate. So I actually have this app called, and I'm not an advocate, I'm not an ambassador, but I use this app called Headspace. So I use it and I listen to their sleep casts, and they help me go to bed and help me meditate. So I do that every single day as well. And the third thing that I fully advocate is to have a pet. I am probably not the best example because I have 18. I'm not saying everyone needs to have 18 pets, but I have 18. And so my entire house is really joyous because at any point in time, there's a cat coming, to say hello, and always a pet that I can hug and kiss. And my house is always full of joy and a lot of fur. But I'll say pet therapy, and find something that you love to do, not transactional, nothing else in return, but you give selfless love. And I think that's the best kind of therapy any founder should have, because we do bear a lot of stress on our shoulders. So you do need unconditional love to be given back to you.
Yeah, well, I love the this idea of the daily rituals and the exercise. Like that is stuff that helps keep you grounded and helps us, be less reactive in those stressful times so we can manage through it. So that's really great. Loretta, what does the future of Smobler look like?
Well, we really are on an upward sort of growth spiral. Last year, I had to let one of the teams go and cut off like $1 million project that we're working on. And I told the team my rationale for doing so. And the team rallied together, and we stayed really focused on building games for education, AI for compliance and accessibility, and blockchain for trust and provenance. So we have seen traction in that. We just saw an investor investing in our blockchain solution. So we will probably make that announcement officially in October. So I'm happy to say Miston Labs, which is the team that came out of Facebook, they'll be investing in our blockchain solution. We also have a contract with the state of Hawaii to create an AI platform for the state of Hawaii to look into AI for food entrepreneurship. So mainly we created an AI platform to help with nutritional labeling, to help with the creation of HSEP plan, which is the health and critical checkpoints plan, as well as to help them with the compliance paperwork that they need to do with the USD and the FDA. So we have that state contract. And on the game side, we also have an investor that's looking to invest in our financial literacy games that we're creating. So all in all, I think Smobler is on an upward trend. It's by no means an easy feat. We have to balance all these things all the time. But I think the team is stoked. We just had an all hands. We also will have, I think by the time this program is aired, we would have launched Smobler Hawaii. We have a big event during the Honolulu Tech Week on September the 9th. So we'll be making our launch on September the 9th. Like I said, by the time this is aired, the launch would have already happened and we sponsored the Honolulu Tech Week. And we have another big event coming up in October the 2nd. Maybe that's where the program be aired, where we're partnered with the New York Stock Exchange, Gemini, as well as Michigan Ross, alongside other partners like Popmark, for example, which is really big now with the Labubu doll. So we have a lot of partners, brands, institutional companies partnering us to do our event in October in Singapore. So we have a lot of things going for us, and we we thank everyone for the support of us all this time.
Well, that's really exciting. Loretta, if folks want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
Definitely reach out. My email, Loretta at Smobler, SMOBLER.io email, or you could reach out to me on LinkedIn on Dr. Loretta Chen, Loretta Chen is spelled CHEN. Lots of people spell it CHEN, but CHEN, Loretta Chen. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, drop me an email. I'm also pretty public, so if you Google Loretta Chen, CHEN, Smobler, I'm pretty sure quite a few sites will pop out, and it should lead you to our website, smobler.io. So I'm sure those are great ways to get in touch with me.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the time today, Loretta.
Thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Thank you.